Hi there, welcome to Paint the Kitchen Red. I'm Nina and I share Instant Pot tips and recipes on my blog paintkitchenred.com. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the recipe for arroz con pollo. Arroz con pollo is translated as rice with chicken. Now there are chicken and rice dishes all over the world. Different cultures have different versions of chicken and rice, and this is the Latin American version. And even within Latin America, depending on where you are, Cuba or Puerto Rico or Mexico, there are different versions of this dish. And so this is my adaptation of arroz con pollo. As a child, I lived in many different countries in South America, and I was exposed to the different cuisines. And so I've kind of created my own version of arroz con pollo, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to show you all the ingredients and tell you how to make it. So here are your ingredients. 1 can of diced tomatoes, or you can use 2 cups of fresh tomatoes. 1 cup of chopped onions. 1.5 cups of long grain white rice or basmati rice. 1 cup of chopped bell peppers. I use red and green. You can use either. 1 cup of chopped celery. 1 cup of frozen peas that have been thawed. 1/4 cup of cilantro with the stems and the leaves separated. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. 2 teaspoons of cumin powder, or you can use 1 teaspoon of cumin and 1 teaspoon of coriander powder. 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder. You could also use annatto powder, which comes from the achiote seed, and this is a natural red dye often used in Latin American cooking. I just use turmeric because I always have it on hand and it's easy for me. But if you have access to annatto powder or annatto paste, you can use that. 2 small bay leaves or 1 medium to large bay leaf. 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper or paprika. You can use more or less based on how spicy you want it. 1 teaspoon of salt or to taste. 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper powder. 1/2 teaspoon of Mexican oregano. If you can't find Mexican oregano, which is usually sold in the Latin section of the grocery store, you can use regular oregano. 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs cut into 1.5 inch pieces. I always like to use chicken thighs for Instant Pot recipes because they just cook so much better than chicken breast. You could use chicken breast. I just find that it becomes a little bit dry in the Instant Pot. And 2 cups of chicken broth. The first thing you want to do is go ahead and heat up the Instant Pot in saute mode. And once the Instant Pot is hot, add the olive oil. And once the olive oil is hot, add the chicken. And we're going to go ahead and saute the chicken until it's lightly browned. And you don't need to cook it all the way. Once the chicken is lightly cooked, we're going to remove it and set it aside using a slotted spoon. And at this point, if you wanted to, you could press cancel for just a bit until you add the onions. Now we're ready to add the onions, the celery, bell peppers, the garlic, and we're going to stir it all up. And there will be some amount of liquid that gets released from the vegetables, which may be enough to prevent any burning at the bottom. If you notice that there's food sticking to the bottom, deglaze with a couple of tablespoons of chicken broth. And what that does is it incorporates the brown bits into the onion pepper mixture. You want to make sure that it's not too burnt. Mine looked slightly darker than it should be. And remember, you can always press cancel and stop the saute. There's always residual heat that it'll cook on, so you don't have to keep the saute on all the time. I do this very often. I will shut it off and then turn the saute back on once the Instant Pot has cooled down. Okay, now we're ready to add our spices. Here's the black pepper, white pepper, cayenne pepper or paprika, turmeric powder, or annatto powder. This is the cumin and coriander. And we have the Mexican oregano, salt. I'm going to stir everything together, and you can press cancel now because there's enough heat to cook the spices, which only need a few seconds, like 30 seconds. Deglaze with a little bit of broth. If you're using the same broth that you measured out for the recipe for the deglazing, then make sure you have enough broth for when you're pressure cooking the chicken and rice, which is about 2 cups. Now I'm going to add the broth, the bay leaf. I'm going to add back the chicken that I had reserved, and including all the juices, and stir it up a little bit. And now I'm ready to add the tomatoes with all the juices, the cilantro stems, and now finally I'm going to add the rice. Now the secret to cooking rice in the Instant Pot is you don't stir it. So what you do is you just kind of push down on the rice until it's submerged in the liquid. You don't want to stir it because that can cause the burn message. So once you push it down and it's covered by the liquid, then we're ready to cook the arroz con pollo. Now I'm going to close the lid and I'm going to pressure cook for 6 minutes on high pressure. And after the pressure has built up, the float valve will come up and it'll count down to 0. At this point, I'll do a quick release of pressure. And once the float valve has come down all the way, I can open the Instant Pot. Watch out for the steam. It's going to be very hot. I'm going to add the frozen peas, the cilantro. I'm going to use my silicone spatula to stir up the rice. If you have one of those rice paddles that come with the Instant Pot, that's a really handy tool to use to stir up rice. There are a few regional variations of arroz con pollo you could try out. Try adding some green olives with the peas at the end. Increase the quantity of cilantro. You can substitute the green peas with green pigeon peas. These come in a can. You can saute some bacon before you add the chicken. Substitute half a cup of amber lager beer, such as Dos Equis, for half a cup of chicken broth. You can add a tablespoon of capers. You could add some strips of jarred roasted red peppers or pimentos. I hope you get a chance to make this one-pot meal. It's an easy recipe for a busy weeknight. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.